Greetings everybody, and welcome back to a beautiful sunshiny day in the landscape. I'm going to continue to do my series on just photographing a subject, and the reason why you're so far away from me is so that you can actually see my subject. Now I will move you at some point and I will put you behind the camera so that you can actually see the subject through the viewfinder and see the frame and all the rest of it. Although, as I've said that, the light has changed. And I've just taken that image. Hold on a second. And this kind of demonstrates why I want to talk about this. Because, well, there's two things. One, this is a day where, as you can see, the sun is coming in and out. So that's creating these spots of light moving over the landscape. What that's creating for me and the subject is it's providing some separation. So hopefully you could see on the camera just there that the foreground and my subject went into shade, this tree over here, and everything behind it was still brightly lit. That creates separation because everything that was brightly lit behind is very, very visible, but my tree just stands out almost like a silhouette. And it immediately becomes very noticeable, and it becomes a lot more obvious that that's my subject. That's what I'm actually trying to photograph. Now, from a compositional standpoint, I've actually wandered around this tree. Hopefully you can see in front of me there's a watercourse. And the watercourse goes past where we are, and it goes around to the right, goes behind the tree. The footpath that I've come along also goes behind the tree. In fact, that's where I first noticed this particular tree. But from over there, behind the tree from our perspective, the sunlight was catching the surface of the water. And it was very, very bright and very, very distracting. And it was behind the tree. So your eye immediately went to those bright spots, almost ignoring the tree. So what I've done is I've come all the way around the tree to see whether there is a viewpoint, a composition that actually works to still show off the tree, the shape of the tree, where it is, etc., etc. Hopefully you can also see there's a low wall that's in various states of disrepair that goes along the base of the tree. From this angle, the wall, to my eye, it goes from right to left, so it's leading me into the tree. In the background, you can hopefully see there's all these lines of the hillside coming down, and they are converging more or less, as best as I could get it, with the tree. So everything compositionally is pointing you at my subject. And I think I can't make up my mind in terms of frame type and frame size. I started off with a square, and as I've said before, a square works very well to just represent a subject, and that's exactly what we've got. But the slightly wider 4x3 view, which is what this camera natively captures, it captures more lines, captures more information. I don't know, I think it's a decision that I'll have to make when I get home. So I have actually captured both. Because we're in a day where the sunshine is out, I'm using my infrared camera. Now, whether I shoot infrared or whether I shoot colour or I shoot black and white or whatever, I still go through that compositional thought process to make sure that everything is, I was going to say correct, that's not the right way of putting it, that everything in the composition works to tell the story or push the idea that I've got rolling around in my head. it doesn't matter the type of camera, whether it's digital film, doesn't matter. I'm still putting that level of thought into it. I've deliberately gone with infrared today because I actually believe that infrared is helping me to again separate the subject. The reason for that is that all the grasses in front of me and the tree are green. So they're showing up as being very, very pale in the frame. The hillside beyond is predominantly rock, and I think it's heather that's actually, or heather or ferns that have died off. So in terms of the way that well, it's not visible light, is it? The way that the light is being represented, everything in the background is relatively dark in comparison to the foreground. And that is again helping to create separation between my subject and what's all around it. So I'm going to move you now and put you behind the camera so you can see the composition and the choices that I've actually made. As we're talking, you can hopefully see we've actually got some shadow over here. So I might just pause a second because what I've tried to do is I've tried to have an image where the background is dark but the tree is lit, and then I've had it the other way around. I've had the tree and the foreground dark and the background lit, and you know, variations in between. I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure which one is the one that really ticks all those boxes, but digital is cheap, so I'm just going to go for this one because I'm not sure that actually works. I went for that because I've actually got a swath in the middle of the scene that's in shade. The foreground is lit and the background is lit. I'm not sure it necessarily works because I think it says more about the light on the land than the tree. And of course, the image is about the tree. I've also got a contrail up in the sky, which I really don't like. Don't want a unnatural line in the image. It just, I don't know, it doesn't look right. Right, let's stop gabbling. Excuse me, let's get you behind the camera. You see, just as I've talked, it's changed again. No, okay, let's move you. Otherwise, this video is going to go on for hours. So hopefully you can see my composition right there. The sun is fully out. I have artificially brightened the image quite a bit on the screen so that you can actually see it. And now the sun has really come out. And hopefully you can see there that the sun being fully out means that the subject and the foreground, even the mountains beyond, it's all just, there's no separation. It's not obvious what the image is actually about. And that would be as true in infrared as it would be in color, or even if I adopted black and white. So as I was talking to you earlier, I'm waiting for some shadows to move across the land in order to help me with that separation. Compositionally, that's the 4x3. So you've got the line of this wall leading you up to the tree, and hopefully you can see these lines down here that are helping to point to the tree. What I'm just going to do is, oops, I'm mucking around with exposure compensation. I don't want to do that. Let's just go to, I'm just going to change it to be a square. Dunk. And with a square, I mean, it works in that you've still got these lines, you still have the wall leading you up. There's a block here that stops the eye. But I think the 4x3 frame actually, these lines here have got more emphasis in the frame, and I think they help to push the eye down. But of course, a slightly wider field of view means I need to be a lot more fussy on light and shadow and so on and so forth. You can't really see here, but there is actually another small stunted tree over here. I've been careful to avoid that. And on this side, there's some heavy lumps of rock that are in deep shadow. I've been quite careful to avoid those so that you can just concentrate on everything that's going on within the frame. Aperture is f8, and I'm focusing bang on the tree so that obviously the tree is sharp, but f8 just means that these elements in the foreground, especially this wall, they are also sharp. And I want the ridge line up here to have some sharpness to it. So f8, this is a micro four thirds camera, so that's the equivalent of f16. It just enables that to have some sharpness to it. Now it's just a case of waiting for the light to cooperate. So I've been here now for about half, maybe even 3/4 of an hour, just watching the way the light changes in relation to the subject and the elements that are in the composition. I think I have got a version that worked, really worked. And I think the one that really worked was both the foreground and the tree in shadow, but what was behind it lit. I think the harsh reality is that in terms of infrared light, there's actually quite a lot of infrared light coming off the fells in the background, and that's actually reducing the separation between the subject and what's going on all around it. I'm still undecided on whether it's square or 4x3. Again, I'll make that decision, I think, when I get home. And also, I've had a few instances where there's been a lot more interest up in the sky in relation to clouds. So I think for this subject, there's a couple of things, or quite a few things in play. There's all of those compositional elements that help to point the viewer towards what is it that I'm trying to say. But then there's also an element of patience and persistence, sorry, the wind's got up, waiting for the light to cooperate and help me to tell the story that I'm trying to tell of this plucky little tree doing an awful lot better than the wall down below, which is in various states of disrepair and falling apart. And I think probably one day the tree roots will take that wall down. So it's those sorts of notions and ideas of like nature persevering despite the best efforts of man to control it. So yeah, I think there's a bit of patience involved in this one. And that's one of the elements of photography that I really, really enjoy. I like the patience bit. I mean, it's a lot better to be out here in the sunshine getting a bit of vitamin D than it is to be stuck behind a desk. So that's it for this one. I'm going to move on and find something else to occupy my time with. As ever, I hope it's been interesting. If you like landscape photography and you're not a subscriber, do consider becoming a subscriber. That's what this channel is all about, landscape photography. It's free to subscribe and you can unsubscribe at any time. If you've liked today's content, please do consider giving it a thumbs up on YouTube. It's just nice to see that people do actually like what I do. So until we're back out in the landscape again, hopefully in conditions as good as they are today, with maybe a little bit more mood about them, if I'm being perfectly honest, then we shall see you next time back out in the landscape, regardless of the weather. Cheerio for now. Stay safe and take care.